Alright, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalatu wassalamu ala asrafil anbiya wal mursalin sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We thank Allah tonight we can gather inshallah to learn and to do some remembrance of Allah and today topic is believe in the prophets of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I can hear. All right, so cool. How many people watching online now? All right, okay. Tonight, we're gonna probably spend about 1 hour. So I have this class. This is gonna be probably the second time, the third time I'm giving the class on the prophets, and I have a very sort of humbling experience when I first delivered this on the prophets. I'll share with you in a minute. But most of the times I share that in Indonesian, in Bahasa Indonesia. And then normally I probably spend this is the prophets, right? There's a story of the prophets. There's a lot of things that we can actually take benefit of the stories of the prophets, especially in the likes of the Sirah of Rasulullah SAW. It's really a gem that we can actually extract and implement in our life. In the class in Bahasa Indonesia, probably I spend around the class is probably like 2 hours and 5 meetings and stuff like that. So because there's a lot of things that I don't know where to stop basically. So I try to compile all these materials into one, and hopefully we can try to extract some of the benefits, inshallah. All right. Tonight we're gonna talk about 4 things. A little bit of introduction. So before we started the journey of believing of the messengers, I want to probably tell a bit of story, and then we're gonna talk about the purpose why the messengers were sent to us. So this is a bit of I think everyone should already know about this, but it's just probably a reminder for us. And we look at some of the definition. So many people know about the prophets and the messengers, but apparently not many people know about the difference between the prophets and the messengers. Do you know? Difference between Nabi and Rasul. Yeah? Some people offer us a different sort of opinion. What's the difference between those two? We're going to discuss it today. And we're going to find some of the prophets and some of the Rasuls that mentions in Al-Quran. There's a long narrations about the prophets that not even mentions in Quran. I don't know whether we probably have time to do that. This is one of the stories that I like actually. Is the name of the prophet. I'll reveal that later on a bit later on. And then how to believe. That's the last topic, which is how to believe. When it says we need to believe in messengers of Allah, how to believe, what to believe. So we're going to cover that, and inshallah, it can be a reminder. Some of this probably you have already heard before, and they become a reminder. Bismillah. All right, introduction. I remember this stories. I told you before, right? The stories of Prophet probably about 5 years ago. This is really. I was at that time was in SIT, and Brother Adil was Brother Wahyudi was asking me to deliver one of the classes, and at that time was the Prophet Isa, and it was a 3 meetings, and then I remember on the third. I remember on the third meeting, it was from 11 to 1. There was one sister, and she was asking me questions and more questions about the Prophet Isa or Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, alayhi salam. She was asking about why this and what, and start comparing to what she understands about Jesus in her religion. And I kept asking, I think 4 or 5 questions. And it's just probably about 5 minutes before it was closed. It was really nearly 1 o'clock. And he kept asking, and then suddenly she said, "Brother, can I recite my Shahada today?" And for me, it was really humbling experience. I was standing at the time, and I had to actually find a chair to sit down. Really, it was so hard for me than for the sisters, because we actually know more about Prophet Jesus than I think what people claim they know, right? The stories of the prophets is we actually we actually owe people to explain all the stories. I remember Ustad Noman Ali Khan was also mentioning, and he was telling the stories of Prophet Moses to the rabbi, right? And the rabbis were actually crying because they never heard these stories, and all stories in the Quran, right? So we have actually a lot to tell people about the stories of the prophets. So this is one of the things that I learned about that, and it was from that I started my journey of learning of the prophets and become so close to me. I like to start with another story. So probably another story. Remember one of the street dawah that we used to do with Brother Weil was in Central. I remember that time, Brother Adil, it was near Christmas time. It was a big banner with the signs of I love Jesus. I think you probably saw that before, right? I think we did that as well with MCSK. So there were a bunch of Indonesian sisters, and they were looking at the sign, I love Jesus and stuff like that. And they says, hang on, they are Muslims. Why they say? Because there's not many people actually, more Indonesians, because most of us we born Muslims, and sometimes, and I just think back when I was kid, right? When I was probably elementary school, junior school, you know what the teachers told us at school, that Muhammad, peace be upon him, bringing the religion of Islam, Jesus bringing the religions of Christianity, and Moses bringing the religions of Torah, right? So that's what most of us during our childhood used to believe. It was actually not right. All these prophets of Allah, right, from Adam and Jesus and Noah and Moses and Abraham, all of this are prophets of Allah. Is a one God, one religion, right? So, but we grow up believing in that. So when this Indonesian sister saw this group of Muslims saying, "I love Jesus," they contacted me. They said, they call me Pak Didi. Pak Didi, this is probably defiant group. This is probably a wrong Muslim, right? I remember that they were asking Zana. So why is that? They told me they mentioned the guy. Oh, I know this guy. This guy is a Brother Weil. And to cut the story short, and then I come to this group of sisters, and I start giving them class. And that class was actually 5 years ago, and it happens until now. I deliver the class to the same group of people right now here, even in MCSK. I think Brother Ali knows that it's every month. That's the same group of people who asked me 5 years ago, what's wrong with this group of people, Muslims having this, I love Jesus, right? So, subhanallah, Allah has His plan, and it was amazing. It was amazing. All right, what is actually believing the messengers of Allah? Believe in the messengers of Allah, meaning that we truthfully believe that Allah sent messengers. Allah sent messengers for mankind, so mankind will know Allah and know how to worship Him. That is what we mean by believing all the messengers. There's so many messengers, there's so many prophets that Allah have sent. In some narrations, there are about 124, I don't know whether you heard that before, 124,000 prophets, and about 300 plus, 310, 313 number of messengers. So from Adam until Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So it's quite a big numbers, and then we have to list some of the numbers that mentions in Quran. There are 25 of them. So that is the purpose of sending messengers is Allah does not give all the message to all mankind, but Allah sent His representative, if I can say that, is through His prophets and messengers. And all these prophets, messengers is the only way for us to connect to Allah. Is the only way how we understand Allah, what pleases Allah, what displeases Allah is all through this prophet. Right, so this is the main source for us to connect to Allah, and the way of worship, the way to become the good person, the way, of course, when I say good person, is of course in the eyes of Allah, is only through the messengers. That's the only point. right? So that's Allah sends the messengers. We don't become as messengers because we want to do that. We don't become Nabi. We don't become prophet because of our iman and taqwa. No, so Allah chose someone to become His representative, and this person, this individual, is a noble person that Allah sent wahi and Allah sends messages for him to deliver to us. So that is the main message. Simply put, is we have to believe that in order for us to worship Allah, Allah sent that message through the messenger. All right, got it? Right? Okay. So it's slow enough, right? All right. Okay. The next, the purpose. I'm gonna tell you about the PowerPoint feature later on. What is the purpose of the four or five main objectives of Allah sent the Rasuls? Number one is the purpose of the Prophet is to bring mankind and to worship Allah alone, right? So this is the feature. So you can have that link, and then you click that link. Look at that. Wow. Right? So Allah says in Surah An-Nahl, ayah number 36, that Allah sent messengers, right? Kulli ummatin rasula. Every single ummah, every single nation from Adam until Prophet Muhammad SAW, and the Prophet Muhammad SAW is the last prophet, Allah will send all the messengers. I don't know whether you know Sheikh Hussein Yi. He used to work in Hong Kong, probably in the 1990s, right? I remember one of his lectures mentioned about, because before he became Muslim, he was a Buddhist, right? And one of his lectures mentions about he went up and tried to study the original books of the Buddhism, and then he cannot find any reference saying that the Buddha actually asking people to worship him, right? So most of the reference in the book is believe in one and do good deed. Believe in one, do good deed. What is it in Arabic? Lazina amanu wa amilu salih. Amanu wa amilu salih. Believe in one, believe, and then do good deed, right? So he was probably making an assumption, probably Buddha was probably one of the prophets. Who knows? Wallahu alam, right? Probably one of the prophets. But because his teaching has been corrupted, has been improved, has been doing bid'ah and so on and so forth, he becomes a centers of worship, right? And I got a chance when I was in Bangkok probably 3 years ago. I got a chance to go to one of the monastery and met. There was an event called talking to the monk or something, right? So I went there and I asked them about Buddhism and so on. And before I left, I told him the message that I got from Sheikh Hussein Yi about that who you believe and you follow, you put the pictures of probably one of the prophets, and you should learn Islam carefully. So at least I put that message before I left. So I did my sort of part of doing da'wah. So that is the first purpose is to bring people, mankind, and how to worship Allah. What is the second purpose of Rasulullah, of the messengers, is to teach the hakam, to teach the book, and to teach the mankind and how so they can purify themselves, so they know how to become a good person, they know how to increase their akhlaq. This is the purpose of, as mentioned in, look at this, yeah. I like that. This is from Surah Al-Jumu'ah. Huwa allazi ba'asa fil ummi rasulan minhum yatlu means to read like a tilawah, yatlu alaihim ayatihi. So the first task of the Prophet is to recite the sign of the ayah, wa yuzakkihim, and then to purify, and wa yu'allimuhumul kitab, to teach the kitab, to teach the book, in this case for Rasulullah to teach the Quran, and wa yu'allimuhumul hikmah, to teach the hikmah. Some scholars say hikmah is the saying and the sunnah and the traditions of Rasulullah. So there's a four tasks of a Rasul. Number one is to recite the sign, yatlu alaihim ayatihi, and then to purify, yuzakkihim, and to teach the kitab and to teach the wisdom, the hikmah. So not only Allah sent the book, but Allah sent Rasulullah SAW to show us how the book should be implemented. And Aisha radiallahu anha was once asked, how was the akhlaq of, or how was the Prophet Muhammad SAW when after Prophet was, had passed away, and she said, he's like the living Quran, he's like the walking Quran. So if you want to know the akhlaq of Rasulullah, he is the walking Quran, right? So Rasulullah SAW is his task is to put the Quran into practice. That is his sunnah. Right, so this is the link between the Quran and Sunnah. And just interestingly, I like to understand a little bit of because this is quite interesting. If you look at, this is the ayat number 2 of the Surah Al-Jumu'ah, Surah number 62. If you look at the Surah number 1, ayat number 1, that's quite interesting. Yusabbihu lillahi ma fis samawati wa ma fil ardi malikil kudus azizal malikil kudus Aziz al-Hakim. This is the only ayah in the whole Quran that Allah sifat, Allah names mentions for Allah's name. Normally, Ghafurur Rahim, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Alimun Kabir, and then Sami'un Basir. There's only 2 names, right? In Surah Al-Jumu'ah, Allah mentioned His name for. Yusabbihu lillahi ma fis samawati wa ma fil ardi malikil kudus azizul hakim. So 4, Malik, Kudus, Aziz and Hakim. Just right after this ayah, the second ayah, which is the one that we have right here, Allah mentions 4 tasks of the Prophet. So Allah mentioned he has 4 sifah, he has 4 names, and just right after this ayah, Allah mentions the 4 tasks of a prophet. The first one, the sifat of Allah, the first one, the name of Allah is Al-Malik, right? And then it's associated to Rasulullah to yatlu alaihim ayati, Rasulullah to recite the signs. There's a Malik, is a king. And Kudus, what is Kudus? You know Kudus? Kudus is pure, right? Pure and clean and holy. That's what Kudus. And what is the second task of Rasulullah? Is to purify. What is it? Here, purifying. Wayuzakkihim. Yeah. What is the third name? The third name is Aziz, to teach the kitab, and then Al-Hakim. Al-Hakim, what is Hakim? Wise. What is the fourth task of Rasulullah? Is to teach wisdom, which is hikmah. So just very interestingly, there's nothing. So if someone says there's no, that Quran is just all over the place, there's no structure, then Quran is very, very structured. This is amazing that when Allah mentions his name, 4 names in ayah, just the next ayah, Allah mentions how close Allah and His messengers, because Allah wants us to learn from His messengers and to follow His Sharia. Right. Next. The other purpose of the other task of the Prophet is to establish the truth about the Prophet. Here, Surah number 4, Surah Nisa, that Rasul is Mubassir and Munzir. That means Rasulullah is to give the good news as well as the warner, as the bad news. So why Allah sent His messengers? So that He can tell us there's a good news, there will be Jannah for you if you do good things, and not only the good things, if you follow the Prophet, you become a better person, you better have a better life, you have a cleaner heart, right? And then also the Prophet is tasked to do the warning. So you have to shape your act, you have to act up, you have to make sure there's a hellfire waiting for you and stuff like that. So but what is not only that, because Allah has already sent all the messengers, that means yakunu linnasi alallahi hujjah. There is no argument for us. I don't know about you. when Allah asks us in the hereafter, I don't know. No, Allah has already sent the prophets. So that's one of the reasons Allah sent the prophets. So there's no excuse for us to say, I don't know anything about you, Allah. This is the first time I heard about you. No, this is one of the reasons why prophet was sent. The fourth one is the blessing, right? Rahmatan lil alamin. That prophet was sent is only for the mercy of us. So it's the part of the mercy of Allah that Allah sends a prophet. So Allah sends someone who can remind that to us, who knows how Allah is, and who can teach us how to worship Allah. That is the purpose of the prophets. All right, that is the purpose. The definitions. So we know that the third topic, we talk about some of the definitions. I asked before we started, does anyone know what is the difference between prophet and you cannot answer? Anyone? Anyone know? Can you share? Do you know between Nabi and Rasul? Do you know? Anyone know? So between Nabi and how many Nabi did I say before? About 124,000, right? And how many Rasul? 300 something. So if Rasul must be a prophet, must be a Nabi, but Nabi is not necessarily a Rasul, right? So there are some people offering definition that some Rasul means someone who bring the book with him. The prophet is not, the Nabi is not bringing, they do not have books. Or prophet, Rasul comes with the new Sharia, but the Nabi did not. So there's a couple of things. But one thing probably we need to know, that the difference between the messenger, the Rasul and Nabi is when they're all given by Allah the message that they need to deliver and how to worship Allah and how to do good deeds. But there are certain characteristics of the messengers of Rasul. If amongst their follower there are people who reject them and do oppressions against the Prophet, then become the Rasul. So that is the definitions to that. If you look at for example, Prophet Jesus, Prophet Isa, right? There are certain group of people that are against that becomes a Rasul. So how we define whether it's a prophet or Rasul is actually in the Quran itself. So I think in the next slide I can show it to you. The certain prophets that Allah mentioned them as a Rasul. Another category of all the prophets, all the Rasul, is Ulul Azam, which is, I think in English, I tried to find it, is an ark prophet. It's like at the top level of prophets. That is a prophet that have a very, very, what is that? Sorry, that is a very, very strong will. The five of them, there's a Noah alayhi salam, and then Musa, and Ibrahim alayhi salam, and then Musa alayhi salam, and then Prophet Jesus, Prophet Isa alayhi salam, and then Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi salam. These are the five Ulul Azam. Some of the prophets, they have books with them, or suhuf, or scrolls, like a suhuf Ibrahim wa Musa, right? Suhuf Ibrahim wa Musa. We have, I think, Zabur, that given to Prophet Daud, and Torah given to Prophet Musa, and Injil, right? Some people says in English Injil is gospel, right? So if you look at the Bible is actually comprises of two, which is the Torah and the gospel, the Injil and the Torah. And last but not least is the Quran that was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All right, I just do some internet Google. We cannot 100% believe this, but I think some of them says, if you look at this, this is Ibrahim. Ibrahim alayhi salam have two sons, right? Ismail, and then from the descendant of Ibrahim, where's my pen? I gotta show you this. That's a point in. From Ismail, all the descendant of Ismail is Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And then Ibrahim also has a son, Ishaq, Isaac in English. Isaac has a son Yaqub, or Jacob in English. And the other name of Jacob is, anyone know the other name of Jacob? The other name of Yaqub alayhi salam. The other name of Yaqub alayhi salam is Israel. So Bani Israel means the son or the descendants of Yaqub alayhi salam. Right? So there's Bani Israel. So Bani Israel, who are the Bani Israel? Is actually Yaqub himself is Israel. So Bani Israel is Yusuf, is the first generation, and then Musa, and then Harun, is Bani Israel. Yunus, Ilyas, Alyasa, Ayub, right? Zulkifli, sorry, Ayub, no, this is not from the line. No, sorry. Where is this line? Daud, and Sulaiman alayhi salam, Zachary, Yahya, Yahya in English, John the Baptist, and Isa alayhi salam. They're all this, Isa, Yahya, Zachariah, Solomon, Dawood, they're all Bani Israel, which is actually the son of Yaqub alayhi salam, right? And there are not many Arab prophets. One of them is Su'aib, and then Saleh, where is Saleh? Somewhere here, and then Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I believe there are three or four or something, right? And the rest, the big chunk of prophets is coming from the lineage of Yaqub alayhi salam. That's what Bani Israel. And Allah sent prophets after prophets after prophets to this kaum, to this nation, which is the Bani Israel, right? And Bani Israel, Yaqub alayhi salam has actually 12 descendants. So that's probably a little bit out of tangent, a little bit about the family. But Yusuf is the first generation. And if we look at here, Musa is actually, according to this, is Musa and Harun is actually the second, probably like the grandchildren of Yaqub alayhi salam. And look at Yusuf alayhi salam. Yusuf alayhi salam, his father was a prophet, right, which is Yaqub, and his grandfather, which is Ishaq, is also a prophet, and his great-grandfather, which is Ibrahim, is the lineage of prophets. Subhanallah. This is, and then a lot of stories about what I did. Also, I also found the. Can you probably guess, out of the prophets that all these prophets that mentions in the Quran, who's the prophet that mentioned the most? Can anyone guess? Yeah, Musa. Yeah, Musa alayhi salam. How many times Prophet Musa mentioned in Quran? Can anyone guess? Is actually quite big. 136. So 136. So it's always the book just only by names. If we just including the huwa, the he, the pronouns and everything, it's probably even more, right? Just by name. And Prophet Abraham probably came second, like a 70 somethings. And interestingly, like the Prophet Isa and Adam, 25 times. So the number of prophets that mentioned in the Quran is overwhelmingly big, right? And even Prophet Muhammad is only mentioned 4 times in the Quran, right? So this book is all about the previous nations that we learned, because human like stories, right? Why where do you think Hollywood making a lot of money? Because of stories, right? The stories, of course, the stories is probably not that much, but the around it is. So people love stories. I think the third of Qurans are also a lot of qasas. There's a lot of stories, and people love the story. All right, this is my on Excel. Just copy in here. I mentioned to you, how do I know this Rasul? I actually collecting one of them. Like for example, Prophet Noah is in Suratun As-Surah, I think 106 and 107. He was mentioned as a prophet, and he was sent to a nation. The name of the nation in Quran is just say Kaum Nuh, right? So there's no particular nation. Prophet Hud, he was sent to Kaum Ad. Prophet Saleh is sent to Thamud, right? And the Prophet Ibrahim was sent to a nation of Ibrahim. So there's no particular name given to us. This is some of the, I also put the English name as well. I don't know whether Idris, Enoch, Noah, Abraham, we heard that before a lot. Like Steve Jobs is actually Ayub alayhi salam, right? And Aaron. I remember a friend of mine called me and he said, I have one brother here He wants to embrace Islam. So I don't know how to. Can you please? So that person talked to me and I says, "What's your name?" My name is Aaron. I say, "Mashallah, you have a very good name. Why? Because your name is mentioned 20 times in Quran." I say, "Really? Yeah, 20, 20. Who's this Aaron guy?" And I say, "Aaron is the brother of Prophet Moses." And who's Moses? Moses. And Moses 136. He was like overwhelmed just before he said Sahada is already over. He's sort of blown away by the. So we don't know this, and the story of prophets will be touching a lot of people actually. So if you know how to deliver the message, and the guy was just, "Well, really, so I don't have to change my name." You don't have to change your name, and there is no actually law that people converting to Islam to change their name, unless their name is completely bad. Like my name is like a, huh? Iblis or something like that. Yeah, but Aaron is actually a good name. Yeah, Aaron is mentioned 20 times in Quran. This is, if you look at the last column here, this where, can you see that? Oh yeah. 136 is the Prophet Moses, and Noah 43 times, right? This is the pinnacle of patience. 950 years of da'wah is only like what, 20, 30 people. So if we just do a street da'wah and no one ignores, this is nothing compared to, subhanallah. This is where we learn about this prophet, because this prophet should be able, probably at the end of the slide, I want to give you some of the touching stories I heard about. When people relate the stories of the prophet, it's actually inspire people. It should inspire people. If we have not heard about the inspiring stories of the prophet, the delay is on us. The prophet, the stories of the prophets, the seerah, is now the era, like the YouTube era right now. You can actually find a lot of stories. And one of my, it's quite interesting. And I started learning the seerah was actually, my colleague was a Hindu guy, and he came to me and he says, I read this book, and the book was by Karen Armstrong, and the book is titled The History of God, and he was saying the book is so awesome, and it told the stories about the prophet, and then he was so excited about it. You should read it. So I start looking at my first Sirah book, which is probably not a Sirah, was actually The Prophet of Our Time. It was written by Karen Armstrong. And I did a lot of Google search on her. And she's actually a British, she's a Brit, right? And then I found one video clip when she was asked about, it was at the time, it was a British, it was a UK bombing just right after the 9/11. And there was a lot of seminars about why these Muslims killings and bombing and everything. So they invited Karen Armstrong, and Karen Armstrong was supposed to be. She used to be a nun. Yeah, it's like a nun. What is it called? Nun. It's like a nun, right? She used to be a nun, and then she quit and she became a historian. She was invited to that seminar. And she's actually defending Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. She said, there is no way all these people and the bombing and everything following the teaching of Rasulullah, or teaching of Muhammad. That's what she said. And you cannot find anything in the Quran, anything that he actually suggests people and to do this. And I was listening to this video clip, and then she told the stories about the lectures that Prophet Muhammad SAW gave during the Hajjatul Wada, when he says, have I not delivered the message? Everyone say, oh, na'am. And then I was looking at her, mashallah, she knows my Prophet more than I do. I was actually in tears saying this. She was probably like in her late 60s, right? And she was telling this Karen Manson, so it's like, my goodness, she knows my Prophet more than I do. And she can actually recite it in Arabic, right? My goodness. That's why it's all coming from my Hindu friend, asking me to learn about Karen Armstrong. And I look at Karen Armstrong, which is a Christian. I think her background is Jewish or something like that. But she used to be a nun. And as from that now and then, I think I have read probably 4 books, 3 books. I've listened to the lectures from Yasir Qadi. I'm doing now the 3rd round. There's a 100 videos of 100 one, each of them is 100 about 1 hour and a half of Yasir Qadi on the Sirah of Rasulullah. This is my 3rd round now. I'm on video number 20 or something, or 28. I'm really attached to this, and I'm reading, and I have 2 Indonesian books, right? And I have also in English, and I have also on my Kindle as well. This is how, because of that suggestions from my Hindu friends. May Allah guide him. Hopefully he listens to this. Anyway, so I got carried away. I get emotional when I tell stories like this. All right. Okay, this is this is probably some of the slides. I was not really that. I sort of done it in a proper way. This is all the prophets that I'm collected from the Quran, and some of the ayah where he was mentioned as a Rasul. So Adam is a Nabi, Idris is a Nabi, Noah is a Rasul, Hud is a Rasul, Salih is a Rasul, and so on and so on. And probably I can leave it here if you want to download and get a reference which one's Nabi, which one's Rasul. And the last one is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All right. So where were we? So we now coming to the 4th part of the discussions tonight, which is how do we believe in the messengers of Allah? What to believe? All right. Number 1, we have to believe that all the prophets are the most noble. Right, so we have to move from that, because he's the one who's going to deliver the message, and the message is not only from the one who created the universe, who created us, who actually give us sustenance, right? So that particular individual has to be a very strong one, right? In terms of nobility, in terms of the character, in terms of akhlaq, in terms of intentions, in terms of their poor intentions, in terms of action. They have to be the perfect one, right? And that's what we need to believe. There should be no flaw, because Allah designed it in a way that because His message is going, especially Prophet Muhammad SAW, because His message is going to be listened by people up till 1500 years, or probably until the end of time. So this prophet has to be like a really spot on. It's really perfect. It's the most noble one. I put the, yeah, oh, hang on. That's not, I need to go back to, how do I go back? In color. Hey, how do I go back? Okay. All right. Okay, in the Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah number 253, Allah mentioned that some of the messengers, Allah make them excel or exceed compared to others. So this is part of the characteristics of the Prophet, that they are, some of them, minhum man kalam Allah, some of them can speak to Allah or talk to Allah, like Prophet Moses, right? Wahal ataka hadithu Musa, if you heard the stories in Surah Al-Taha, I think Allah actually spoke to Prophet Moses. Allah also mentioned that Isa alayhi salam, right? He was born without a father, and it was a Ruhul Qudus. Ruhul Qudus is the name of the, we discussed it last time, the name of the Jibril alayhi salam, so Ruhul Qudus. So Allah mentioned in this ayah that all the prophets, they have special characters. They exist among others, right? And about the nobility, I like this ayah. This is one of my favorites ayah. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Indeed, verily, within the characters of Rasulullah is the best characters. He is the best characters, right? He has to be the best characters. Uswatul Hasanah. For who? For those who really hope to meet Allah. If you imagine this, right? Whatever we are going to do today is going to be our provisions to meet Allah. And Allah links our meeting in the hereafter with the character of Rasulullah. What does it mean? Right? Allah links that. You want to meet me in the hereafter? لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولُ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Allah links that. That means if you really want to meet Allah, this is the best example for you, right? Which is Rasulullah SAW. Yeah, uswatun hasanah, the best example. Here in English they put excellent pattern. I think pattern means something to follow, right? Ittiba, you follow. The root word of ittiba is, if you walk on the sand, it leaves mark, right? And you just follow. You just put your footstep right on that mark. That's ittiba, right? So yeah. And then there was another, I can't remember exactly the one ayah, that if you love me, kul, say ya Muhammad, if you love me, if you love Allah, first, follow me, right? So the love of Allah, our love to Allah, Allah linked up to who? To following the Rasulullah SAW. Yeah, fastabi'uni, and then follow me. Fastabi'uni, then follow me. So Allah links His love. If you want to fall in love with Allah, the only way you can do that is by following Rasulullah SAW. This is the closest of the message from Allah is only through His messengers. All right. What is the second part that we need to believe from the Prophet? They have to be free from sins. In Arabic, it's called maksum. Right? They cannot. Allah have safeguarded them. Right? If you, like for example, if you're in a pipe, if you want to deliver the water you have to make sure the pipe is not rusty. You have to make sure the pipe is clean, so then the water can go to here. If something wrong with the pipe, then the water will not be pure. Right? So this channel has to be pure from Jibril alayhi salam and from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They have to be pure, because the message has to be delivered in the proper channel. So because of that, Rasulullah has to be ma'sum. That means his actions, his intentions, and everything has to be pure. This is one of the key things as well that we need to make sure. How many? I don't know whether we can. I have another 20 minutes now, right? 20. So I have about 25 minutes. All right. Everyone's okay? I know it's Friday. I know everyone should be tired, but I really thank Allah that we can still sit here and listen to me yapping here. Inshallah, may Allah guide us and bless us. Amin ya Rabbal Alamin. All the prophets do not have divine attributes. There is no attributes of rububiyah or uluhiyah. We cannot associate Rasulullah or all the prophets that have power, right? That know the ghaib, except Allah tell them. They will not. I'll give you interesting stories. I was doing Umrah, I think 2012, and I was with my wife. I remember in the grave of Prophet Muhammad SAW, it's normally open for guys, right? But on a certain hour they block it and then make it for the ladies to visit. At that time, I don't know, the security guard, the lady security guard, pick up my wife, and then, can you help us to look after, to open the guard and so on. So my wife was helping the guard to put the guard and then make sure that everyone can come in order manner. So exactly around 3 o'clock or something, they opened the gate, and there's actually hundreds and hundreds of ladies just rushing away to look at to come near to the grave of Prophet Muhammad. And some of them, while they're running, they just actually bow and make sujood. Right? They just went like sujood like that. And one of the what they call it, the askar, the lady askar, the security lady, right? They just pulled them. No, you cannot. I don't know what in Arabic. They pulled it. And my wife was just watching that. Amazing, right? How people. This with Rasulullah do not have uluhiyah. We cannot venerate Rasulullah like all the prophets like that. And some of them is actually having some small piece of paper. They wrote something on that, and they throw it to the grave. So every day, I heard every day they pick up hundreds of small piece of paper, and if they open it, they say, Ya Rasulullah, I want to have some more money. Please grant me money. Ya Rasulullah. Says this is not a and Rasulullah SAW reminded us not to go to that level, right? Not to go to that level. Interestingly, probably about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, one of the Indonesian sisters invited me to one of their. It was actually a Maulid Nabi, right? Which is what do you call that? Maulid, same, right? Maulid Nabi. Milad. Yeah, Milad. Yeah, I was invited to that event. And normally I didn't want to come, but this time I just want to come because out of invitations or probably I get opportunity to talk or something like that. But apparently I didn't have a chance to talk. But they invited some artists, like a singing artist from Indonesia, apparently religious singing artist. And she was there and making the mic, and then she was singing. And then she was not singing, she was actually saying salawat, but in a singing way. Salatullah. I remember that. It's very popular songs actually in Indonesia. It's called Salawat Badar. Yeah, so they make salawat to all the Badriyun, the people who get involved, who's in the Badar, the Battle of Badar, and then singing and everyone crying together, and then after that, what shocked me is after that what she said was they put a chair and let's invite Rasulullah to come with us and sit here. So, okay, and why are you giving the lecture? You should ask Rasulullah to give the lecture then. So we cannot. Rasulullah reminded us, woe to all the Jews and the Christians when they make their prophets be the worship they elevate that. So Rasulullah and all other prophets, they don't have divine attributes, right? They don't have rububiyah, they don't give us rizq, they don't give us blessing, they don't forgive us, right? And they're not a center of ibadah. We cannot worship with them, we cannot make them priority number one, right? So this is all we have to make sure that part of the believing of the prophets, that the prophets are human like us, but Allah has given them special status to deliver the message, and because of that, they get the respect based on there's how to show respect to Rasulullah SAW. Is one of them is to say salawat. Yeah, right. Even if we say salawat, actually Allah gives us 10 more, right? So it's not actually for him; it's actually for us. Right? The other way of showing respect, showing love to Prophet Muhammad SAW is to do his sunnah as much as possible, right? And one I just recently, I'm not going to tell this story. It's probably some other one. I'm going to be direct. I just come back from Indonesia, so I just found a lot of things that it is quite amazing. Anyway, all right. Oh, I do have some reference to that. What is that? Rasul is commanded to declare that no power, right? No power, that all the prophets, there's no power, they cannot reject harm except by the wills of Allah. Right? And if they knew the unseen, then they could have, they can get wealth of that, they can reject. No, all the prophets, they all have the same test. In fact, all the prophets Allah give them the most tests, the most tribulations for all the prophets. All right. Next one, what do we need to believe is the message is the truth. This is part of the story about the pipe again. So the water has to be pure, then the message is to be truth. So what is it? Yep. Everything they say, everything they did become binding to us. Right? So because that's the only way we can worship Allah is to, so the message has to be truth. And then what we believe on the names, right? Some of the names and mentions in Quran. One of the prophets is actually quite mentions in a quite more detail, but it's not in the Quran. He's the son of Adam. Anyone knows? Prophet Seth. Have everyone heard about Prophet Seth? Yeah? Seth alayhi salam. He's the son after Habil was killed by Qabil, And Prophet Adam was very sad, and he asked dua, and Allah gave him another son, and the son became the prophet. This prophet, his name is Seth. In English, it's called Seth, S-E-T-H. It's not mentioned in Quran, but it's a long detail in Hadith about this. I don't know whether we have time to talk about it. Oh, it's only 10 minutes. All right. What other things we need to believe is they come with miracles. Some of the prophets, most of the prophets come with miracles. There are three types of miracles. Miracles in knowledge. So some of the prophets know what will come, for example, of course, by the permission of Allah. Some of the from knowledge. Some of the power, right? Something like a power, so like Prophet Moses have a strong power, and then some of the things that from the stick to become to split the seas and so on, and or the stick becomes snake and so on. This is so one of the miracles, and we have to believe in that, right? We have to believe on this because this is part of believing in Allah. Allah can do anything, right? Allah is in Allah kulli shay'in qadir. Allah has the power. All right. Then how to believe? How to believe, as I mentioned to you, is just to follow His rule, follow His Sharia. So whatever it come to us, this is we try to strive to be the best, and all the teachings and do not exceed in terms of their praises, right? So I found one lectures in YouTube, and I don't know whether you know, whether you heard this before, that they believe Prophet Muhammad has not died yet. Yeah, so there's some group mentioned that this is of venerating Rasulullah more than it should be venerated, right? So kullu nafsin zaikatul maut, right? So, and there was a lot of is mutawatir, like all Sahabas mentioned that they saw Rasulullah pass away, and even Abu Huraira was one of them who actually put Rasulullah into the grave. So there is it's quite mutawatir that the Prophet Muhammad has passed away. All right, so we have about another 8 minutes. So what is the outcome of believing that the Prophet, the messengers, is that we have to be grateful that Allah sent all these messengers. Think about it, right? How we gonna worship Allah is how we follow the prophets. And we see and we hear, we hear the stories of Rasulullah himself, actually how he struggled, how he sacrificed. He was 6 years old and he saw with his own eyes his mother pass away. No one was tested like that. 6 years old. He was like crying. 6 years old and he saw his mother. Right? Prophet Muhammad SAW, how many, he buried his own sons. Right? He buried Abul Qasim. He buried Ibrahim. He buried his own son. He buried his daughters. One of the biggest trial of mankind is to bury their own son or child, especially when they're young. I want to tell you this story is that when I heard this story, it's quite overwhelming. There was a family, and they're just doctors, who's doctors, and they're just like a new family, and they have a small kid, like 3 or 4 year old, something like that. So this doctor one day went home, and then we just do whatever he used to do and so on. And he thought normally the wife was just still in bed with the baby and with the kid. After about half an hour, he didn't hear any voice, and then suddenly there was like a sort of commotion or something. So he went out to the room. He saw his son on the floor, and his wife is also on the floor. And he was a doctor, he knew right away, and he checked his wife is actually passed away. His wife passed away, and he has like a 3-year-old son. He said that the whole world was actually collapsed on him. He didn't leave the room. The fathers and all the relatives came and looked after the baby and everything. He literally stayed in the room for almost 2 weeks. Everything doesn't make sense anymore. He has 2 sons, and everything seems to be nice. His wife seems to be healthy and everything, and suddenly his wife passed away. And it was really struck him to the core that he couldn't do anything. He didn't leave the room for almost 2 weeks until one day one of his brother asked him, you should go to make Friday prayer or something, Jummah prayer day. So he came out and attended the Jummah prayer. And at that time, the khutbah was telling the stories about the struggle of Rasulullah SAW. How Rasulullah SAW, when Khadijah passed away, and after that 6 months or 3 months after that, Abu Talib passed away, and Rasulullah was really, really in tears. And not only that, his sons and everything, he's passed away. So all the trials upon trials, his loved one. And even then, the whole people of Korea still hating him, still wanting him to kill and everything. But he still have to go up and deliver the message. The guy who just 2 weeks and just stay in bed for 2 weeks, when he said, if my prophet can go through this, I can go through my suffering as well. So and he actually come out of the miseries, out of the sadness, because he said, if Prophet Muhammad SAW can actually, after going through all these difficulties, can still go up and deliver the message and everything, I should be able to do that as well. So we can hear the stories how Rasulullah struggles. This is why prophets are sent for us, not angels sent to us, right? Because all the prophets gone through miseries, gone through difficulties, gone through problems. We all facing problems as well, right? So not only the prophets give us and show us how Allah wants to be worshipped and how we should please Allah, but beyond that is how He goes to all the sufferings and tribulation, and because of that message come to us. And that is actually should be inspire us to actually make more amal and to strive to become the best, and in terms of our amal in believing in Allah. So that's the whole message about the prophets and the prophecy, that we believe Allah sent them, so we should copy them, we should iktiba, we should follow them, and that will actually bring the love of Allah to us. I think that is probably what I want to deliver today. Hopefully there should be some questions.
Anybody have any questions? I have maybe questions.
All right. I'm not a sheikh, so don't give me difficult questions.
Okay. How should Muslims respond when our prophets are insulted?
All right. I think one of the ayah mentions about la nufariqu baina ahadim min rusuli.
Repeat the question so people online can know.
Sorry.
Can you repeat my question because they won't.
Okay. The question was how we deal with the what is it again?
How
should Muslims respond when our prophets is being insulted? Okay. I have 3 angles how we see it. Number one, first of all, there's one of the ayah that I mentioned, la nufariqu baina ahadim min rusuli, that we cannot make these distinctions of all the prophets sending the same message as well. Sometimes we pick and choose. When the new movie about, I don't know whether you remember last year or 2 years ago, the movie about Noah. Noah was actually presented shirtless. This is Aurah, and this is our prophet. Why we never respond to that? Why we pick and choose only this prophet? Prophet Jesus, Prophet Isa. One of the two movies, he was being beaten and he was actually half naked. It's an insult to our prophet. This movie that they make is an insult. Why we never respond to that? Right? So why we pick and choose? These are all the prophets of Allah. Right? So that's number one. Number two, why people actually insult our Rasulullah SAW? They never met Rasulullah. They don't know about them. What they know is us. They see us a Muslim is not in the highest akhlaq. They see us Muslim is probably low in terms of our economy, low in terms of our, like the bombing, for example, in the 9/11s. Well, majority people say this is Muslim, right? So these people with the limited knowledge, they see all the Muslims, they don't know how to insult us. Oh, they're probably the follower of the Prophet Muhammad SAW, and that's why they insult the Prophet. This is just out of anger toward the Muslims, or out of the anger plus the ignorance plus they just want to direct the anger to someone that they direct to. So there's not Prophet Muhammad SAW. It's actually they hate us. So how do we respond to that? Is to show that we have to become a good Muslim. That's the only way. If you try to go to that level, try to street rallies and everything. If we street rally, think about it. In Indonesia, sometimes when Prophet was insulted, people make street rallies. You know what happened to street rallies? Taxi drivers, bus drivers did not have money that day. And the bunch of them, taxis in Indonesia, the bus drivers, they do buy, they make money out of they're not employees, right? If they don't drive, they don't make money. Because of the traffic jam, they cannot do anything else. They don't make money that day, right? How many people that we actually cause them problems, right? How many of them? So street rallies is not really an answer. If we become a good Muslim, so us, right? We have to excel in technology. We say Muslim, but our akhlaq is we still making riba. We still do this. So this is again the way I see it, because we're not following the practice of Rasulullah, and because of that they hate us and they attack our Prophet. Not because of the Prophet. Prophet ﷺ, he is already high there, right? It is actually us. It is actually us. And then the right way of doing that is to make positive feedback to this world. How do we benefit? Well, one of the things sometimes I tell some of the Indonesian sisters, if you have one Sunday afternoon something, why don't you just volunteer to hospitals, volunteer to this, make us known, right? Make us known. If they have a big gathering, for example, we invite some scholars from Indonesia and they collected some money, don't send the money all to Indonesia, right? Put the money here as well. A lot of the needy, last time my wife joined some organizations with most of them Christians. What they do, they collected some money, some funds, and they give to the homeless people, right? Join them, right? This is for the good cause. We never heard Muslims doing that in Hong Kong. At least I never heard of it, right? So we have to make an impact to society. So when we leave this place, they all cry, I need Muslims to come here. We're not to that stage yet. Until we come to the stage, we're gonna be always gonna be the top list for them to insult. And the way for them to insult us, how? Is by insulting Rasulullah. It's actually our mistake. That's how I see it, brother. So I don't know. And I remember Imam Shafi'i rahimullah mentions about it's not befitting for a lion to answer to a dog, right? To bark of a dog, right? So if someone just want to insult the Prophet, they just want to, they're not, if really, truly, honestly, they want to have a civilized conversation, they'd come and talk rather than making bad slogans and insults and everything. Rather have civilized discussion, right? So they don't want to have a civilized discussion. They just want to have, they just want to be known, to be popular, and don't help them. I remember there's the movie about Rasulullah SAW, the fitnah or something like that. Back then, I remember that movie on YouTube was seen by 36 people. Seen by 36 people. Until someone found out and make a fuss about it, suddenly become million, and people actually get that, put it DVD and sell them. It was only 36 people only watch, right? Even probably their mother, their father, their uncle. It's only, right? And we Muslim make a fuss out of it, make a street rally, and suddenly become 1,000, and people make money selling DVDs or that. And the movie is actually in a bad quality. That's what I heard. I've never seen that anyway, right? So don't give the fuel to this anger. So just show that we're good Muslims. I think that's how I see it, brother. Wallahu alam. Anything else?
One more.
Okay.
Yeah. Just as a father myself, most of the time we don't, I feel, spend enough time teaching our kids about the real superheroes, which is the prophets. So just to highlight how important it is in this age when Marvel and DC are controlling the world, if you know what I mean, how important it is to teach our children of the superpowers that our prophets had in a fun way, not in a very, come here, read, in a fun way. Because that's what the society, as a teacher, that's what I feel we're lacking that in terms of telling our children the amazing things our prophets did with the light of Allah, of course.
Okay.
So how important that is.
Okay, so I have to repeat that question for the benefit of the audience. So the question was, how we as a Muslim parents to teach about the prophets in the midst of movies and everything, about the Marvel movies and the superpowers and everything. All right, how I did that, and I remember about probably 8 years ago, I was in UK, and I remember that day was on Wednesday. Chelsea was playing, right? And I went, Chelsea Football Club. And I went there, there are babies, and they are kids like 2-3-year-old wearing Chelsea outfit. And they're all like, all the kids, they meet each other, they talk Chelsea. I was looking at that, these guys know Frank Lampard, I don't know, whatever the name, right? They talk about, they're still only 3 to 4 years old. Then I was sitting there, I was watching, why is it, right? Why then I can see their parents as well. The parents is so passionate talking about Chelsea. You don't have to teach your kids because they learn not from what they hear, is but what they see, right? If they see their parents is so passionate about Chelsea, the kids will definitely passionate about Chelsea. Right. That's why sometimes good golf players, their sons become golf players. The son of the doctors become doctors because they see the passion of the father. So how to teach the kids of the prophet? We have to be passionate about the prophets, right? If they come from school, what you see is just about talking about the prophet, is about how your face is beaming when you talk about Rasulullah. They will pick that up. Right, and we talk about that. We talk about always. We don't have to. You have to believe in the prophet. You have to believe. No, you don't have to. You just say it. Just like you talk about Chelsea. Every time we talk about Chelsea, your kids become Chelsea. Right. So it is our passion, how passionate we are with that. That I remember when I first started learning about the Quran and stuff like that. It was either Noman Ali Khan or Shaykh Hashir Qadi. I asked my daughters not to close the door. Right, so I listen to it every time they come to see me. I always listen, either listening to this, listening to that. Now I've started reaping the benefit of that. I did a quiz. I was in Indonesia last time, and I made a Kahoot quiz, right? A Kahoot quiz, and some of my cousins, they have their kids actually sent to madrasah, like a full-time madrasahs and everything, reciting Quran and everything. When they do a quiz, my daughters actually beat all of them. They know, because how do you know? I remember you, Dad, when you're listening to Yasir Qadi, I remember that. You remember that? Yeah. So that is actually, if you become passionate to what you're doing, don't worry, they'll follow you, right? And they will, well, Marvel will still come because it is, wherever you go, Marvel is still there. You don't have to hate it. You just follow what is this, the strength of this, and just follow that, because the kids, they don't like if the parents hate what they like, right? Never talk bad about their friends. Never. Just tell them their friends is good, but if you can, it's always be with the. It's always to be on their side. That's how. And if you're passionate about something, that will catch. That will, like a disease, right? That will spread. I hope I answer you, brother. Okay? All right. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you very much for listening. Barakallahu wa lakum. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
The one, the one, the one, the one.